Hello, you're welcome to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kaya Loco. Now, this show brings you the top stories that made headlines captured by various media outlets. In a bit, I'll give you an idea of the big stories for the week, and then we'll delve into them. Don't go away. So yeah, welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. So let me give you an idea of some of the stories that made headlines. The election debates have started, infrastructure debate we've had this week, and also many others to do with the campaign trails, among others. So let's start with the elections and see what the issues have been over the week on the elections. Let's go to the City Newsroom, and they say our exempt small businesses from taxes, commercial cars from import duties. That's the promise coming from the flag bearer of the NDC, Mahama. Still on the City Newsroom, nobody can abolish free SHS. The flag bearer of the NDC, Mahama, speaking again. And then still on the City Newsroom, non-completion of Eastern Corridor Road under NDC's tenure regrettable. Mahama speaking there. Let's move to some other papers and go to ABC News. They say Axim Sea defense wall 85% complete. The Ghanaian Times, Western region gets €60 million waste treatment plant to serve 2 million people. Also, it will be providing some 1,500 jobs. Still on the campaign trail, the new crusading guide, President commends Zoom Lion on disinfection as a cut sword for first ever waste treatment facility in Sekondi, Takoradi. The Daily Statesman, €32 million 100-bed hospital project starts at Shama. The Daily Post, show what you've done with the monies you have borrowed, Mahama to Akufo-Addo. Daily Heritage, stop consumption policies, invest in key sector of economy, Mahama jabs Akufo-Addo. The National Enquirer, Mahama slams Akufo-Addo. You don't develop a nation with freebies, create jobs. And then we'll wrap up with the new crusading guide. Akufo-Addo punches Mahama and providing critical help, not freebies. So back and forth over waivers, investments, and the president reacting to those issues. Let's move to the infrastructure debate and start with City Newsroom. And Mahama challenges Nana-Addo to debate on infrastructure records. Still with City Newsroom, Bawumia's infrastructure claims blatant falsehood, plagiarized Mahama projects. Sami Jemfi speaking. Daily Graphic, our projects cost less, provide value for money. Dr. Bawumia speaking there. Ghanaian Times, VIP calls on Ghanaians to give President overwhelming endorsement at December polls to continue good work done so far. New crusading guide, President jabs NDC, we are doing real roads, not green book roads. The new crusading guide, MPP's first term infrastructure record unparalleled. This is Bawumia again. The Chronicle, every district has got its share of the national cake. Bawumia speaking over there. Let's go to the Finder. We are completing inherited projects, Dr. Bawumia, on the issues to do with them abandoning some of the projects started by the NDC. The Ghanaian Publisher, 17,334 projects initiated since 2017, 8,746 completed. Bawumia speaking there. And then let's wrap up with the Daily Statesman. $289 million building 4 interchanges, but $260 million built only under Mahama. This is the Daily Statesman on the issues to do with infrastructure. So let me bring in the gentleman I'll be having today's discussion with. I have Selam Adunu. He's head of features and articles here at City FM and City TV. Selam, welcome.
Thank you.
And I also have Duke Menso Poko, his our parliamentary correspondent, also hosts the chamber. Duke, welcome.
Thank you.
So, guys, I think we should start with the infrastructure debate because that is quite fresh. If you look at the various media outlets, what they are reporting, we still have issues coming from that. So let's start with Bawumia's town hall meeting where he spoke about the achievements to do with specifically issues around infrastructure, from education to health to roads, railways, and the list goes on and on and on. Let me start with you, Duke. Your key takeaways from that presentation.
First of all, I think that the engagement was good. It was good for the electorates who appreciate political discussions and politics from the viewpoint of intellectual discussions, discussing issues around tangibles and what has been done in terms of looking at information and critically analyzing before they cast their ballot. So it is good that the Vice President came to present an account of what government has done over the period. This is not the first time he has done something like that. He's done that over the last 3 years. There was a time, 2 years ago, there was an economic management meeting at the College of Physicians and Surgeons where he gave an account of what had happened. Last year, there was another town hall meeting which he addressed in Kumasi. So this was some sort of the continuation of what he's been doing in presenting to the people what government has done in terms of, I mean, from what his forte is from the economic point of view or from the economic angle. It's important because, and I look at it from this scenario, it's important because before the 2016 election, the New Patriotic Party or the NPP or government then told Ghanaians by way of this social contract they wanted to enter into with the people of Ghana that we are promising a number of things, and per their own account, as the Vice President put it, over 17,000 projects, infrastructure projects, were presented to Ghanaians that this is what we want to offer you. Vote for us based on that. And after 3.5 years, their own account is that over 8,000 of these projects have been completed, and several others are pending, and they score themselves, or government scores itself 78% and 28% pending. That's good. But of course, in such an instance, you will be doing a comparative analysis with what was done by the government that you took over from, which is the Mahama administration. And it's interesting because the Mahama, who was former president, is also on the ballot again. And his forte, which has always been, and that was the major plank around which the campaign for the 2016 election was carved, around infrastructure. We all remember very well, most of us remember, how the trump card for the Mahama campaign in the run-up to the last election was about infrastructure. And it's the same.
Seeing the Green Book and all that coming in.
Yes, so it's the same, and from all indication and what the NDC social media army and the NDC campaign itself is pushing is the same agenda of infrastructure. So it was good for the Vice President to also bring in the argument of what the NPP has done in terms of infrastructure. But all in all, it sets our politics up a notch higher, in my opinion, because we've moved from the starting point in the early part of the Fourth Republic, where it was all about issues of, for want of a better word, where issues, it was based on sloganeering essentially, not based on real issues being presented. People did not have the opportunity, at least the majority of people in the country did not have the opportunity to scrutinize issues based on what was happening to them. It was essentially about sloganeering. This is what we'll do for you. We would change the face of, we would transform all kiosks in the capital city into estates. That was one of the things that was promised before the 2000 election. Before the 2008 election, there was also a promise of one-term premium. So I mean, this is to compare
now we
for
have
both political parties.
You know, political parties having been in office at least one term, something to compare, something to speak about that is being done or not being done. But so your key takeaway is the fact that the debates have moved to another level where we can have a proper academic and intellectual exercise.
Yes, which is good. Which is good, because if the conversation continues that way, the politician cannot go out there and just, I mean, mix up half-truths with truths.
But is it as simple as that? We'll come to is it as simple as that? Especially when we're having cases where some are saying, well, you didn't start this, I got funding for this, you're just completely, really, you can't make this your own. And then some are using certain things that the other things is not strong enough for something to tout and all that. But also we have to look at that. But let me take Salom's initial thoughts, then we'll look at the status of the projects being mentioned and, you know, the viability and all that. Salom, your key takeaways from that town hall meeting?
Well, thanks, Vivian. I think it was an important exercise to do. I think it was a constitutional imperative. The Constitution, directive principle of state policy. It's important to create environment or create avenues to account to the people. And, you know, the good thing about this is that it puts the voter in the center of it. The two major political parties, I mean, there's actually a scramble for the attention of the voter now. So it appears they are giving the voters something to look at, something to compare. So, you know, in the end, the voter benefits, or the voter becomes more enlightened, and his choice is more informed, you know, compared to what perhaps happened many, many years ago when the Fourth Republic started. It's an advancement, or like Duke said, the democracy is being moved a notch higher. Social contract is being enhanced a bit more. You give the people power, you pay your taxes, you do everything. Now they are telling you how they use your taxes and how they use the power, which is great. Is it good? Is it a good thing to do? I think it's super. It's great. That is how we must do. We must do things. The election must be issue-driven. The comparison of records is not bad. It is good, because if you have two people and you have to make a choice between them, there should be something to make you favor the other over the other. And in this case, it will be the goodness of their records generally, even though a few other things play roles. This obviously is better than the politics of insults, name calling, etc., that we've spoken against many, many times. So if this is how election 2020 is going to be like, I mean, a competition of ideas, comparison of records, I think it will be great. Talking about comparison, that's what I call the comparison conundrum. So I think the MPP must be a bit clearer in terms of what they are comparing. So in some instances, they say it's Mahama versus Nana Addo, comparing 4 years of Mahama versus 4 years of Nana Addo. But during the town hall meeting, we heard a lot about first term comparison. So which is which? We need to be clear. The first term of the NDC was President Mills. He was the guy. John Mahama was the vice president. Of course, he could argue that he was just a helper, and his job was not to fashion out the vision and do things like that. So he was just helping. But of course, I've heard some of them say, even if you want us to compare Mills's record, we can compare that favorably. But the MPP must be clear on what really it is to compare, so that we can be clear. Is it Mohammed's 4-year term you are comparing with yours, or you are comparing the first term of the NDC government?
Now, can you take away one from the other? Well, because the party itself has NDC's government, and then of course two people fill the position.
Our politics, and the case, it is the case in many parts of the world, our politics is hugely personality driven. So you can't say you are comparing Mills to Nana Addo. I mean, Mills is no more, even though it's the NDC, the machinery, the structure that Mills led essentially or largely was the machinery that Mahama, you know, led somewhat. The person defining the vision is important. So Professor Mill's vision could have been different. Maybe he wanted to do ABC. John Mahama's role at the time was just to help him. John Mahama's vision could be different, that I want to invest in this. So, for example, Nana Addo is here. Baumia is his vice president. Nana Addo, I know, is big on free SHS. I don't know about Baumia. If Baumia were president, I don't know what his big agenda would be. We know of Nana Addo's. So it will be, I don't know if it will be a good basis to compare something like that with what, I think a better base of comparison would be comparing Mahama and Nanado. And that's what they've said, that each has had a 4-year term. And so we have a good basis to compare. So I think we should judge him by what he had his hands fully on. Of course, you could argue that Mahama, in that sense, had the benefit of continuity. He didn't have to do a lot of the things that first-term governments do, instituting investigation into the past government's affairs, doing a lot of things before you settle. He had already settled. He won the election, and then he just hit the ground running because they had been in government. It was their machinery on the ground. So those nuances, I think, should be looked at when you are comparing them.
Okay.
It pushes our politics up a notch higher. We are maturing as a country in terms of our democracy. There was also the thing about value for money, which was an important part of the whole thing for me. And the major issue there was the comparison between the Kwame Nkrumah circle interchange and then the 4 others that the NPP is doing. A number of interesting things have come out from there: scope, etc., materials used, etc. And I think that the length of it, etc. I think that debate must be properly situated. It should be an intellectually stimulating debate so that we don't just get carried away too much by what each will say. We need to independently sit down and then look at it and see really who is delivering value for money. The type of projects, the NDC, for example, has argued that in their Green Book, they had big ticket projects. And of course, the Green Book was limiting because this is a book. You can't put everything inside. That would be too voluminous. So the MPP chose a web portal or a tracker kind of thing. So they had access. I mean, there was a lot of space to occupy. So they put in everything, about 17,000 projects. And I've heard criticisms that even you've seen instances where we've seen one-seater toilets, standing somewhere, and that is being touted as an achievement. We've seen donation of or provision of polytanks. Which comes to
which infrastructure or which ones will we say are critical that should be given that attention? Should everything, if you do a toilet, should it be something you make noise about, which is seen as a basic provision of infrastructure? If you do a school, can you compare when you are putting together your pool of things you've achieved? Would you add this toilet in there? So it appears now everybody is bundling and throwing it to us because, of course, it's something I've built.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think we need both. Infrastructure must lead to development. So if there are huge infrastructure projects located in a community, and the community people cannot directly or indirectly benefit from it, then it's of no benefit to them. But if there's a project, no matter how small, situated in a community, and that project speaks directly to the needs of the people, that is development. So I don't think it should be an either-or situation. We should have a blend of the two so that we have the critical developmental projects or infrastructure that will help us at the national level, that will drive the economy in a big fashion. But we also need the small drains, or what we call the gutters. We also need the KVIPs. We also need the boreholes. We need all that, I can understand the criticism that it appears a lot of noise is being made about big infrastructure projects only to see small things. It's a political season, so I can understand that, and I can also understand why maybe the NDC in their Green Book did not include a lot of the small boreholes and toilet facilities also provided, etc. So I think it depends on what you are really looking at. But I think development, infrastructure must lead to development, and you must look at both sides, the small projects and the big projects. It will surprise you that for somebody who lives in rural Accra, the Kwame Nkrumah interchange or circle,
it's not really there.
It's no big deal to him because he doesn't even come to town to even see it or to even use it or to experience the problem that existed before this was built to solve.
So it depends on your area and your needs.
So I think we need a combination.
Okay. So after that, if you permit me, we can move to reactions from that. If you don't have any other comments around the actual presentation, we can move to the reactions, starting with the NDC, of course, where its National Communications Officer believes the presentation, majority of what was said by the Vice President, he is peddling falsehood over projects put up by the Akufo-Addo government. According to Mr. JP, Dr. Bawumia spilled a lot of falsehood when he addressed a town hall meeting. And then he insists that some of the projects listed by Bawumia were those established by the Eswa Mahama administration. Quote, Bawumia's presentation and on the so-called infrastructure achievements of the Akufo-Addo government is a compendium of blatant falsehoods, plagiarized Mahama projects, and a comical celebration of mediocrity, he said. And he also says they will give a detailed response to the claims made by Bawumia on Thursday. Duke?
I think for the communications officer for the NDC to say that it was a compendium of plagiarized projects,
blatant falsehoods, plagiarized Mahama projects.
It's an argument that is far-fetched. It's far-fetched because the government provided, Dr. Bawumia provided a delivery tracker, which is accessible to everybody to find out about the projects that government has done, what they've been able to deliver, and what is pending or what has been tagged as ongoing projects. So it's, and this has been segmented into districts. Districts, that's the basic unit of political administration or development. So at every point in every district in this country, you can find out from the tracker what government has done and the status on there. I think it would be good, and of course they've mentioned that they would be responding in detail as a party. What we've seen so far are, responses from individuals within the party. So, yesterday we were all witnesses to the interesting and stimulating discussion that happened on our platform. Yeah. Yes, between Felix Kwachu-Fosu and Dr. Gideon Boaku, which was, very interesting, very exciting to witness. So, as a party, we are expecting what the NDC would say altogether as a presentation to counteract rebut what Dr. Bawumia said there. And looking at claims that it's plagiarized. Plagiarized would mean that government is blatantly stealing projects or taking credit for projects that they have not done. Well, I don't. So far, from all the projects that have come, of course, I don't see any of them that government is claiming credit for that it did not probably execute. So there have been instances, or there have been the NDC cites examples such as the airport that has been the Terminal 3 and the circle interchange. Government has not claimed credit for it in any way. So for me,
I think they added the
Pokwase interchange, and even that has even become a matter of contention between the two political parties as to whether who gets the funding deserves to be credited for taking all the credit for executing the project, or in whose tenure it ends. Or who actually deals with executing that. That has yet to be settled amongst them. Because for some, they would say that if you secure the funding, about 80% of the work is done. Yeah. So all you have to do is just ensure that it's executed. But for others, because of political expediency, and it happens amongst both political parties, they would want to claim credit. And that is when, if you don't have, people who are probably, let me say, they have the capacity to be able to understand some of these things, they would fall prey to such devices of the political class. So I am waiting for the official response that will come from the NDC to
react to some of these things
entirely, because they started what was known as the corruption tracker.
Corruption tracker. That's right.
A few weeks ago.
There's a website for that.
For that, I don't know what has become of that. I mean, which was a very veritable platform to put government on its toes, because one of the issues that the NDC has been trumpeting going to this campaign, or I mean for a while now, is the issue about corruption of the Akufo-Addo administration. They've cited, I mean, the same communications officer some time back organized press briefings and was on this issue about family and friends corruption and all of those things. But after 2 or 3 months down the line, after organizing or putting together a corruption tracker, it's fizzled out. So I'm expecting what the official response would be to what Dr. Bawumia has done. But all of this is contributing towards us having an issue-based campaign and not one based on ethnicity or personalities or slogan. And that is good. And that is good for decision making of voters. But
Salam, are we going down the intellectual road where already there's a back and forth on who really did this, the value of the quality and all that, and not really pulling out the issues but belittling some of these matters? Are we still on the good platform that we think we've elevated ourselves with this infrastructure discussions?
I think it's useful to have such discussions so that when next time I'm speaking, I know that I will not just have a field day. What I'll say will be subjected to some critical analysis. But I think governance is a continuum. And this whole thing about taking credit, etc., there's an extent to which we can encourage that. But if it becomes something we have to do at all costs, I mean, government is a continuum. You can't do everything whilst you are in power. You must certainly, for example, the MPP is cutting sod for district hospitals and landing sites, etc. Election is just 4 months away. These projects cannot be completed in 4 months. So should they lose the next election, the NDC or whichever party wins should continue. That is what we expect. Someone says something that do not focus on doing the work and not winning the debate. I think we've lost track sometimes of winning the debate rather than doing the work. When you focus on doing the work, the people will feel it. If my road was so bad and now you have come and you have done my road, I'm able to travel from my house to wherever I'm going and I'm well, I'm fine, I see it and I feel it. If the economy is good, I work, I earn money, there are jobs, people are employed, we don't have a lot of unemployed people around. People feel it, people know it, So it's important to remind people that this was where you were and this is what I've done, and so you have come to this stage, and so I deserve, a renewal of my mandate. That is important. But if that becomes the focus, that everything we are doing, we seek to derive political benefit from it, or we seek to remind people politically, it polarizes the country too much. It polarizes the country too much, and it is not healthy. So, I like the debate. I like the fact that you must take credit for what is due you. But if it becomes unnecessarily too much, then I think that is a problem. And that is what we must guard against. So, Pokwasi interchange, somebody is taking credit. Should it be the one who secured the funding? Should it be the one who cut the sod? Should it be the one who saw to the completion of the projects? Our governments haven't helped us, because what is wrong in sharing credit in this? What is really wrong in sharing credits? If you do so, it lowers the political temperature of the country, and that's what we want. There's a project you inherited, you're going to commission the project. What stops you from giving credit to the other side? It even wins you funds, it wins you plaudits. But we've established this competitive political atmosphere and environment such that you can't even say the obvious. You can't give credit to your predecessor. But we are all in this business of nation building. We just have different ideas of how to reach our common destination. I think our leaders must pipe down a bit and learn how to give credits here and there if really they have to do so.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up on that. Stay with us.
So should you leave a cheating spouse?
Can you survive the marriage? I don't think so.
How do you deal with inappropriate family relationships?
For her to be married to you and still have the audacity to be romantically involved with your sister is serious.
And indeed, is love good enough reason to marry someone?
Your partner should yearn for you.
Join my sisters and me as we break down the issues, address the problems, and stir up the conversations right here on City TV every Friday night at 9 p.m. Sister Sister is live on your favorite station, and of course you can send your messages ahead of time to jessica@cityfmonline.com. Don't forget, Friday nights at 9.
Precision, style, class, execution, talent. Congratulations to the top 20 contestants that made it to the main audition for Keyboard Idol. The question is, which of these 20 talents will be in the top 10 and ultimately become the Keyboard Idol? Catch the Keyboard Idol every Saturday at 7 p.m. only on City TV. Tune in to City TV and follow the conversation using the hashtag Keyboard Idol for updates or visit citytvonline.com. This amazing talent competition is sponsored by Asanka, powered by Tech Aid, and Santol Energy. Keyboard Idol is powered by City TV. The quest to find a keyboard superstar starts now.
So yeah, welcome back to what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kai. Look, I'm here with Stella Madeno and Duke Mensah-Opoku. Guys, let's wrap up on this debating. So really, from what is going on, how do you judge a party or a government? Is it on the manifesto promise or a comparison of what their opponent did and what they did during their time in government?
I think that it's not it's not on one thing. You certainly have to use a number of things. First of all, how I feel as a citizen, whether I feel safe, whether I feel economically more empowered than I was before, whether I feel that the dignity of my country is intact or has been improved, whether there are opportunities open to me as a person. You know, it's a number of things. So the comparison of records says I want to feel better than I felt, you know, in the previous regime, and I want to see a genuine effort of somebody trying to do something, you know. So it's not just you can't base it on just one parameter. There's a number of things you put together to make that determination, and that determination will differ as far as people. There are people whose biggest headache is paying school fees. So for people like this, once they see free SHS, they are fine. For some people, their biggest headache is healthcare. Once they see a healthcare facility in their community, they think they are fine. For some, they just want a job. So once they get a job, they are fine. You know, so it depends really on the individual. Comparison of records, yes, that is at a broader level. That after all is said and done, who does better? You know, is it this person or that person? When they were given the same opportunity, how did they fare? You know, but I think that even comes at another level, at a bigger level. The micro level is how I feel, how empowered I feel, how safe I feel, etc. I think it's a more personal decision. Okay,
let's wrap up. Former President Mahama is challenging Nana Akufo-Addo for a debate on the issues of infrastructure. I mean, is it something we should be looking at the presidential debates, reviving them, and going with that?
Well, the last time we saw the two of the candidates should have been in 2012 at the IEA debate. Yes, and it was an interesting one, I must say. It was, but looking at it would be good. It would be good for us to get our two leading candidates, debate issues, and talk about their plans for the country. But looking that's the ideal situation. But practically, looking at what transpired in the last election, where the incumbent did not want to submit himself to the already let me say, established IEA debate platform and was looking for the NCC to do that. And the then opposition candidate also did not want to go into some sort of a debate and opted for another way on that same day to express his views. I don't. Practically, I think it may be difficult. It will be difficult to pull it off. It will be difficult to pull it off. But when it happens, that would be very, very good. And I think the NCC as a state institution should try as much as possible to pull this off.
Okay, we'll see whether that happens. Let's pick some of the...
quick one. You know, in Ghana, at least in the Fourth Republic, incumbent presidents don't debate. You know, in 2000, I mean, Mills was the incumbent vice president. He did not debate. I think it was in the second round he was trying to call for a debate, but it was too late. In 2004, President Kufuor didn't debate. In 2008, I mean, Nana was coming, Mills was coming. There were new people, so there was a debate. In 2012, that's the only exception. That was the only exception. 2016, incumbent President Mahama didn't debate. I don't see it that Nanado in 2020 will want to debate. But you see, I think we need to develop our democracy to the point where the people, like you refuse the debate at your own detriment. People will have to call for it. We have to. Because it would be nice to see the two of them debate. I mean, without the smaller party. So it's like pound for pound. See the two of them debate on the issues, on infrastructure, on healthcare, on education, on the economy, on governance, on corruption. It would be nice to see that. It will be very informative, and that will, you know, even though it may not serve a lot of it, it's up to the excitement of the election. And it's a pity that we are not about to see anything like that. Okay,
let's take a few of the messages. Tunis from North Lagos says, Salam, you are right on point with your views on sharing credits for projects. Baumia needs to grow up. Okay, I leave it there. Abdul Mumin from Tamale says, silence will help the NDC better than the propaganda. That, okay, I will leave this one too. Kweku from La Paz says, honestly, NDC is polls ahead of MPP in everything. That is infrastructure, economy, health, education. You believe. Nana Kosi from Denu says, the basis for measuring the performance of the MPP should be the specific promises that brought it to power and not the performance of Mahama. There's no justification in setting Mahama as the standard of our government's performance. If Mahama was worse, you don't expect us to be happy with a bad Nanado. That's what you say. So these are some of your messages coming in. Okay, guys, let's go to the campaign trail. So very interesting promises we are getting. During the week, former president said if he comes back to power, there'll be some tax reliefs for SMEs. Corporate tax as well will be reduced to 15%. And then he's also promised to clear arrears of contractors who are still owed. Also intends to inject some 10 billion to boost some aspects of the economic the structure. So we're seeing the construction side, among others, who will benefit from this 10 billion and all that. Let's start with the taxes. How realistic this promise is, Duke?
Well, it's good to want to stimulate growth at the granular level, at the basic level, which is where the campaign message is targeted towards. I mean, here the former candidate Mahama is talking about offering tax incentives to microfinance, micro companies, small companies, companies that employ a certain small number of people, and world over, those are the sort of business establishments that can engender the growth that would give jobs to people without necessarily depending on the high-level jobs that will be created by government. So it's good. It's a good thing that would ensure that not everybody would want to look up to government for the jobs. It would engineer growth in the micro sector or the micro economy, if I may put it that way, and get people to work to get some sort of income. But the challenge is how many of our how many of our microfinance or small companies or small businesses are captured in government database, or how organized is that space? It's not. So for you to be able to make a very good projection as to how much you would need to be able to put into doing that will be very difficult. And this is a problem that has persisted over the years. The micro sector, the small sector, the micro sector of our economy is not. It's not that it's not developed. It's not well organized. It's not regulated. We don't know those who are paying taxes. We don't know those who are not paying taxes. It's not a place that is very well organized. So I would look forward to a phased approach that would first talk about how that sector will be organized, based on which you would then want to give out this tax rebate or tax reliefs or loans or whatever form of incentive you want to give to that sector to engender the growth that would give the jobs. Because he has stated, or Kande Mahama has stated over the period, that his focus, if he gets another opportunity, is to ensure that people get jobs. People get jobs, and I think that falls in line with what he wants to do. So it's a good idea, but the reality of it is that sector is disorganized. It's not very well organized. We don't know those who are paying taxes. We don't know those who are
so if he's
in the
able
sector.
To organize it within a year and come into power, and then moves in quickly to give these waivers, that
would be good, but that would be good. But knowing the kind of structures that are in place to do that already, we have the NBSSI. We have institutions like that have existed over the years. How well structured have our small businesses been over the years? And it's not as if Candid Mahama has not superintended over a government that has a structure like NBSSI before. So for me, it's good. But I'm waiting to see a plan about that would look at organizing that part first, and then based on which we're going to, because we've heard about tax rebates, corporate taxes being reduced and the rest, but it's still not happening, or has not happened as I would say. So it's a good idea, tax reliefs, tax rebates, but the plan doesn't look very feasible and realistic.
Clearing of debts and then injecting 10 billion. How about that? That
would engineer growth in the the big push. That's how the NDC has named it, or Kande Mahama has named it. It's good. It would. I mean, and he's targeting the construction sector, infrastructure, which would bring about. Infrastructure and construction has a bearing on almost everything. From from the value chain is right, from cement to the artisanal workers, to everybody who is involved in it. It's a way world over that is used to push jobs into
pretty large
yes, sector. So 10 billion. The question will be how to finance that agenda, or how to finance that big push. 10 billion is huge money. Then again, where is this 10 billion
the funding from
source of going to come from, which would make it much more realistic.
So
and
you're looking at more specifics.
Yes, specifics.
Then we see how viable it is. Salom, are these beautiful promises viable? Are these things he can execute if he comes into power?
Well, I'm trying not to fall in the trap of the NDC in terms of how some elements in that party spoke about the free SHS as you have it today. I think it was a Yuka or somebody who said that free SHS is going to be possible in 20 years. So yes, I think everything is possible with the right structures, with the right plans and proposals, and the determination to make it happen. I think it will happen. So like tax reliefs to small and micro companies, that is important. You know, under our laws, when you establish a company, you start paying taxes. You know, it doesn't really help like that. So there's no breathing space at all. So if he's saying that he will give tax holiday to micro companies for a period of time, I think that's welcome news. We just have to find out what the modalities are, how that will be done. I think it should be based on, I mean, the modalities should really come up, because it cannot just be in fact, how many of them even pay the taxes after all? Or even with the current system, how many of them pay the taxes? We need to fashion out a system that will rope more people into the tax net, and also be able to identify people who need tax breaks or reliefs of that nature. That is important. I think in 2016, the MPP promised to reduce corporate taxes from 25% to 20% or so. Yeah. I don't know if that has been done. I don't think that has been done. There should be a reason why that has not been done. I don't know why. Now, Mahawa is promising that when it comes, it's going to reduce corporate taxes to 15%. That is huge. That will give a lot of the companies or local companies a lot of breathing space so they are able to expand and maybe employ more people. And he said he's going to create 1 million jobs in his 1 million jobs every year. If he's able to do that 4 consecutive years, that'll be 4 million jobs created, and it will reduce our unemployment figures drastically. But you know, I only hope that it's something that they will do should they get the opportunity. He also talked about paying debts owed people who suffered in the depositors who suffered in the banking crisis or the banking sector cleanup. That is also a huge promise. A lot of people are looking forward to, because we hear 98% of the people have been paid, but you know, reports have carried, you know, suggest otherwise.
But there's still some that haven't been paid.
Know, the big push. I know you like the big push because of the infrastructure and the cement and the engineering works in there, but it will stimulate the economy. So it's a waiting game. We are just waiting to see the fine details of these projects. So when the fine details are given, I think we can interrogate them better, and then we can know exactly what they are up to. But on the face of it, I think it's laudable, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more of those, especially as the NPP is preparing to launch its manifesto come Saturday, and the NDC will do its here, you know, was in September also. Yes, you know, so we'll see a lot more detail to a lot of these promises and things being said. Of course, the NPP we know has spoken about the Agenda 111, which is building about 88 district hospitals, regional hospitals, and 3 infectious disease centers. You know, a lot of those we expect to hear, but it will be important to know how they intend to fund these and what the fine details to all these are.
Okay. Nadu has also been on the campaign trail as well, also making quite a number of promises, especially specific promises depending on the area. He goes to promising to build hospitals for some, fix roads for others, and just this afternoon promising to create a policy for traditional leaders along the coast where revenue from tourism will be shared with them and all that. Duke, your thoughts about this interesting policy that we intend to implement?
Well, even before this, I mean, that sort of gives us an inkling into what would be coming into what government's viewpoint would be going into the 2020 election. Essentially, a message of continuity. Before 4 years, this is what I have done. But it would have been interesting to find out, or it would have been great to find out in all the places that he's been to give some sort of an account to people in that area based on what was promised in 2016, that we have done this, and based on this, that's why we want to continue to do that, so that, I mean, you put the options there before the people that you are telling them. You put the options before the people so that they make a choice that is quite informed. On the issue of the tourism revenues and wanting to create a fund, it's good. It would help, I mean, places in the country where the mainstay of the economies in those areas, they have the natural resources to be able to cash in, the natural and other form of, you know, resources to be able to cash in on what do you call it, on tourism. But that will be dependent on the structure that will be created. And based on the quotes I have read, I have not seen anything like that was being presented. So it's like some sort of a a promise that has been given to them without the fine details. Maybe that would find some space in the manifesto that will be launched on Saturday. Also, I mean, just about 2 weeks ago, he mentioned tertiary institutions, some sort of a scheme for tertiary students who will be going into tertiary institutions after as a follow-up or as a sequel to free senior high school. Again, we await the details. So these are some sort of a promise to the people, telling them what you intend to do for them in the next 4 years, some sort of a value proposition to get them to buy into your ideas of getting into the social contract that you want to sign with them again. Okay. And he's put that out. But the devil, they say, is in the details. So we are waiting to find out how these details will be given. Then we can properly assess the viability of these promises.
Okay. Saturday, the MPP launches its manifesto. Of course, we've seen a lot of things come out from the 2016 manifesto, also connecting it with the town hall meeting and all that. But Zella, what should we expect from this new one that is coming up?
You know, it's more difficult for campaigning as an incumbent than it is if you are not in power, because anything you say, people will say, "Why didn't you do it? You know, why are you now saying it?" So I think there will be a fine balance. You know, we'll see a small part of what we saw 2 days ago at the town hall meeting, but that will not be only limited to infrastructure. So they will tell us, I expect them to tell us what they've done in respect of the promises they made, the 1D, 1F, the one village, one down, one warehouse, one district, one constituency, one warehouse, or whatever. You know, there should be some accountability rendered on that score. After that, then they will go ahead, or they will go ahead to tell us what they intend to do. So they will score themselves highly, as is expected, and say that the mandate to give out for the 4 years, this is how the scorecard looks like. We have done well. 78%, I'm sure, is what they will see, because that's what is on the tracker. 78%, and 78% anywhere is a good pass. Yeah. You know, so, and many other things too are in the process, or they are in the pipeline. They are ongoing, various stages of completion. So give us another 4, or give Nana 4 more years. Give Nana 4 more years. 4 more for Nana. 4 more for Nana to complete it. So yes, that's what I expect. I expect accountability, and I also expect promises. But I don't expect the promises to be like the 2016 promises. Okay. 2016 was promise laden, obviously, because the MPP was in opposition. A bit of that may happen on the NDC side, because they are now seeking to come in, you know. So yes, I expect them to give us a good account of what they've used our resources for, the mandate for, and they should be able to convince us also on what is to come if we are to renew their mandate. Okay.
Duke, expectations of the manifesto to be launched?
Details, and a fine backed by a plan that can be, I mean, very, very well assessed, because, and I'll cite one example. The One District, One Factory promise in 2016 was presented on the campaign platform for many people, and gave many people the expectation and the promise that almost every district would have a factory in 4 years. There'll be jobs. That has not happened. Yeah. That has not, to be realistic and objective, that has not happened. And in the last count, some 28 projects have been fully completed, others at various stages of completion, as we were told. So on Saturday, when the manifesto is launched, I expect details as to what has been done and a viable plan or a realistic plan to achieve the next set of goals or vision that the President and the MPP has for the next 4 years. Okay. I mean, if they'll be given the opportunity.
Okay, so we'll be bringing you a live coverage of
one second on that. I think that we are behaving as if COVID is... I mean, when you look at how the two candidates have conducted their campaigns so far, you know, they should just tell us to go ahead and campaign or lift the ban on political activity. Because they are doing that, not just calling rallies, they are not calling rallies, but wherever they go, a lot of people come around, which is the same as a rally. And they stand on the car, on top of the car, and talk to them. I think we need to watch that carefully so that we don't have a bad situation on hand.
So the COVID-19 protocols are being flouted with these campaign issues. We hope the right thing is done. We'll be right back with Vivian's view. But thank you very much, Stella Madonu and Duke Mantel-Poko.
Thank you.
Election season, and as usual, the infrastructural debates over who did what have begun, with the two major political parties at each other's throat over who did what and how useful either is to the citizenry. What should be a good exercise, which ultimately must lead to accountability on the part of current and ex-government officials, rather in the end becomes more of heated rhetoric. Now, over the past weeks, we had the registration and education debates on whether we should have done the registration, the debate on the resources spent, health implications and value for money have been raging on. The education debate on free SHS also has been ongoing for a while. This week, the debate intensified following the Vice President's town hall meeting on infrastructure. And we have all seen and heard the back and forth from both parties, both sides of the political divide on that debate. From right of ownership of projects done over the years, on the level of progress, the quality and cost. In most of these debates, most communicators of the various political parties end up trading insults rather than debating the critical issues, and in the end, most debates become less fact-based and focused on issues. But as citizens, it is imperative that we hold political parties accountable by ensuring that promises made are fulfilled and the politics of insults are discouraged. Politics of insults only creates disunity. So as the debates intensify, the campaigns become more charged, we must focus on our individual situations and demands on the matters of development, whether it's in our communities, our regions, and demand answers to questions on promises made during the campaign trail. And during the debates, when all sorts of information are thrown at us, we must do the fact-checking as citizens. So as we go into the political season, let's demand debates that are devoid of insults, that are devoid of lies, but rather those that will lead to increased development. This has been Vivian's View. My name is Vivian Kai Loko. Thank you for watching what the papers are saying. Goodbye.